Hello, Jordan.
What's up, Michael?
Not much, my man. You got Mitch there. You guys are recording today.
Yes, sir. Mitch is here. We are recording. We're doing a 30-day challenge. And that's what we got going on. What do you got going on?
I have a big issue.
Uh-oh.
So this weekend's my annual golf trip tournament.
I know.
And I played yesterday for the first time in about a month.
Yeah.
I played 18 yesterday. I don't practice golf. I just play.
We ain't talking about practice?
Yeah, I don't practice golf. And it was the worst round I've played in potentially years. And so now...
Dude, that could be a good thing.
Yeah, you can spin it. Got it out of my system, whatever. I agree. But it's also... I made some swing adjustments and... Yeah, not good.
Well, good, man. And, sometimes it's good luck to have a terrible performance before your show. So
you just made that up.
I didn't.
This is straight out of the school of.
No, that's a superstition in like theater. The theater world is like the last dress rehearsal. It's like good luck for it to be bad. So
I think that's like rain on your wedding day is a good thing. It's just we're gonna take something that's obviously annoying and we're just gonna call it good.
Oh yeah. But I bet you win. I bet you win this competition.
I think we do too. It's a team event. It's not an individual. So, yeah, I think we'll defend our title.
Well, whoever's team you're on is lucky to have you there because I think you're gonna swing well under par.
Thanks, Dale. I've never shot under par in my life, but I appreciate that.
You will this time.
Yeah, that's what's going on here.
What adjustments did you make to your swing?
This might be incredibly boring for 99% of people, and then the 1% who know what I'm talking about are going to think I'm kind of an idiot. But I basically just made my backswing range bigger on my driver, which like I have a little bit of a fade with my driver, which means the ball moves from left to right. And to straighten it out a little bit and get a little bit more distance, I increased my backswing further, which actually has me hitting it with the club face flush rather than like slightly opened. And so I was hitting the ball straight with my driver, but then all of my irons were drawing hard right to left, and they usually go left to right. So I'm usually set up like 5 feet left of where I want to go, but then they're drawing further left. So I basically missed every approach shot, and the wheels fell off from there.
Oh, geez. Would that now change where you stand relative to the ball when you're swinging, or are you just going to bring back your swing to what it was?
I think I'm just going to shorten my backswing and play the fade with the driver. But really what there's two options. I go to the range for 2 hours a day for the next 3 days and try and figure it out. But I don't practice golf. It's just not in my ethos. And so I'm going to try and forget about yesterday and just have a few great days of life and show up with no memory of that round on Friday. Smart.
I like that. What about if you just aimed slightly to the left with your driver? So instead of aiming at wherever you want it to go, you just aim to the left of that, so that fade takes care of itself.
With the old swing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing forever, and it works. I just lose a little bit of distance, but I can hit it far enough off the tee that it doesn't really matter, and I'm consistent with it. I don't know why I made this swing adjustment 5 days before the annual golf tournament that gives bragging rights for a year. I don't know. I'm an idiot.
No. Tested it out. Life's too short not to test things out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. So walking speed.
Yeah. I just asked Greg Doucette if he wanted to come on my podcast right before, because he's flipping out. He's flipping out about my most recent post.
Your most recent Instagram post?
Yeah. It was a bit from my last YouTube video. I just screen recorded it, turned it into a reel. And I was talking about walking speed. Like, walking speed doesn't really matter in terms of overall health outcomes. And there's research supporting that. And he's freaking out. He's in the comments. That's ridiculous. That's like, next we're just going to be saying it doesn't matter what you eat, just eat. And he is bringing up good points, to be fair. He's being like, if you walk like if you walk 1 mile an hour versus 4 miles an hour, you're going to burn more calories. Da 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 da. It's like he's correct, 100%. You like that's for sure. It matters in that sense. What I'm thinking about is if you walk the same total distance from overall health outcomes, it's basically the same, especially from a general health perspective. If we're talking about performance enhancing perspectives, yeah, obviously the speed you're going now matters much more. I'm talking to a general population. I'm talking to people who are super overweight and not healthy, and they just need to move more. So technically he's correct. It does matter, but he's losing it in typical Greg fashion. So I just sent him a message. I was like, hey man, I'd love to have you on my podcast so we can talk about it. We'll see if he takes me up on it before he just makes a viral video about how I'm a charlatan and have no idea what I'm talking about. But
so two things. One, are you guys friendly? Do you have like a history of communication?
We've had a couple messages.
Do you follow each other?
We follow each other. Yeah, we follow each other. I've had people from his team reach out asking if I would be a sponsored athlete from them, and like if I would be sponsored for their supplements or clothing. And I was like, listen, like, and it's from 2021. I didn't reply. Oh yeah, it's 2021. Then they were like, do you want to do sponsorships? And I was like, I don't want to do supplements, but potentially clothing. And then that was it. That's literally all we spoke about. Nothing ever came from it. And then now today he's losing his fucking shit.
It's an interesting hill to die on. Did you give in to him in the debate, or did you, in typical Jordan fashion, dig your heels in and like try to defend your point?
I didn't defend anything. So here's. Oh,
you just said you can come on my podcast. I got it.
He wrote me a long message and then sent me a voice memo, and then I was like, "Hey man, I didn't say this, but I'm about to hop on a podcast with you." So I just write, "Hey man, I respect you immensely. I've looked up to you for years. Would you want to come on my podcast and speak about this? I think it'd be super helpful for everyone." And he hasn't replied yet. So he's probably making the video talking shit about me.
Good. Exposure to a new audience.
An audience that'll hate me.
Interesting hill to die on, though.
It seems to be his. You were talking about your ethos with golf, how you don't practice. It seems to me that his content is based around not liking other people's content. Like the vast majority of his videos are talking about what other people say that he disagrees with, and then just losing his shit over it. That seems to be how he makes the majority of his content, if I'm not mistaken.
From what I've seen, he does do a good job of isolating the idea rather than going after people, and like being relatively objective. But
that's good.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I mean, we can here. I'll go on his YouTube right now. His okay, I'm just looking at his YouTube videos in terms of like the thumbnails and everything and the titles. It's almost all about other people. And we got Kai Muscle has lost his mind. C-Bum got fat. The bulk needs to stop. Chris Bumstead. Is Lizzo fat shaming? Chris Bumstead again. Logan Paul scamming kids. Sam Sulek this isn't good. Jesse James West didn't deserve first place. It's all about other people.
It does seem to all be about other people. I've actually, I think I've watched one or two of those videos that you just listed, and it's definitely clickbait to get people in the video. They're not really attacking videos.
The thing is, like, I haven't seen those videos, so I have no idea.
Could be a good place to leave it. Or we could just go. This could just be the whole episode.
We could listen. I don't know him. He seems like I said in the message to him, he seems like a really nice guy. But it looks like 94% of his content. I mean, lean beef patty, she trains wrong. Like, everything just looks, even if the actual video is different.
Isn't negative. Yeah.
It's
like the Jesse video was a good video. Or like saying that he should have done better, I believe.
Interesting. Got it.
Yeah. Let's get people in the door. Dude, this is a good
strategy.
Thing. This is, yeah, but it means that you attract enough eyeballs that he wants to use you for a video to talk about walking speed.
Maybe he'll come on my podcast. We'll talk about it.
What else, Jordan? Tell me about that thing you're wearing.
CGM, continuous glute. Dude, I don't know how accurate this thing is. It's very weird. So I'm wearing a continuous glucose monitor, doing a 30-day challenge. My mini cut starts today. Going to lose weight while I wear the CGM. And I'm going to be spiking my blood sugar every single day. And just have one meal a day that deliberately spikes my blood sugar. That's the whole purpose, is to show that you can spike your blood sugar and still lose weight. Obviously, I'm not talking to diabetics, type 1, type 2. This is for otherwise healthy people. And today was day 1, and the first meal I had was a bag of sour Skittles. Just that. Completely fasted, nothing else. That's what I ate. And my blood sugar didn't spike at all. I shouldn't say at all. It spiked, but barely. It stayed within a healthy range.
How big was the bag of Skittles?
It was a full bag. It was a 220 calorie bag of Skittles. It was 36 grams of sugar.
59 or 50 carb or something like that.
47 carb, 36 sugar, 2 fat, 0 protein. My blood sugar went from 102 to 131, I think, was the peak, which is not that high. The unhealthy or the big spikes are anything above 140. That's the big spike. So it went up to 131-ish, which I was like, wow, that's wild, because I had meals yesterday. I've been wearing it for a couple of days now just to get used to it. I had full meals yesterday that were very different in terms of spikes, had much higher spikes. So I was actually talking to some people who are diabetics, type 1, type 2, and they encouraged me to get a finger pricker so I can actually test my legit glucose at that moment. So I ordered that. It should arrive later today. So hopefully we'll be able to get that finger prick and sort of calibrate the app from the CGM along with the finger prick, because the CGM, it's not actually measuring your blood glucose. It's not touching your blood. It's measuring your interstitial fluid. So in between your skin, there's fluid, and that can give you a good estimate of what your blood glucose is, but it's not actual blood. So that's where they said the finger prick can give you a much more accurate result.
Interesting. It'll be interesting to see the difference between the finger prick and what you're rocking now. 2 thoughts. 1, I wonder if you doubled the serving size on the Skittles, what the response would have been in terms of the height of the blood sugar spike.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, this just proves that you have phenomenal insulin sensitivity. You're just putting sugar down your pipe as quick as you can, and your insulin's pulling that carb and sending it to your muscles all over the place and just doing all kinds of good things with it. And yeah, this is what happens when you do a lot of cardio and you train and you have muscle and you're just an athletic specimen like you are. An athletic purple belt specimen like you are.
The other thing it's going to prove is that regardless of the blood sugar spikes, I think the cool thing about this is, regardless of the actual intensity of these spikes and lows, is that at the end of it, I'll have lost fat because I'm going to be in a calorie deficit. And so no matter what, it's people are going to be I have a lot of different plans for how I'm going to structure the overall YouTube video and different tests we're going to run every day. But it's still going to come back and prove the same thing, that all these, don't have white bread, don't have this, don't have that. It's oh no, shocker, you still can.
That's going to be the takeaway for most people. But the real underlying takeaway for the PT pod is that Jordan is a specimen, and that even if he wanted to spike his blood sugar, he couldn't, because he just has good things going on. That's the takeaway.
That's inaccurate, but I'm glad we got your backswing in check and we're ready to go.
The thing is, we don't have it in check at all. We're in a really bad mental and physical place in the game of golf. But what can you do? You just got to bring it. Michael Jordan had the flu before Game 6, and or ate bad pizza, or who knows, was out partying. Whatever the case may be,
he was poisoned.
That was one of the theories. Yeah. 7 guys to deliver one pizza at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's a little weird.
Dude, I've been listening to Rogan's podcast more when I work out, when I do cardio. Mm-hmm. Just for a couple reasons. One, I'm like been very interested in doing more stand-up comedy. So I've been listening to some stand-up comedians and also just interested in some of the topics and the discussions. But I was listening to one. Do you know Shane Gillis, the comedian? He's absolutely hilarious. And so I think he's been on a couple times with Rogan. I was listening to what I think is the most recent one.
Okay.
And I was very interested in listening to this one. One, because I like Shane. I like his stand-up specifically. And also, I like analyzing conversations just to see at what points am I gaining interest and losing interest. Like, what's happening in a conversation where my interest is dwindling and I start going on Instagram and not paying attention versus when am I like intently paying attention? Did you hear this podcast with Shane and Rogan? Did you listen to this one?
No.
It's very different than the meaningful podcasts. Like Rogan has some like very meaningful, deep, intelligent, intellectual conversations. This was like the exact opposite of that. It was just the entire time was almost the entire time was nonsense. And it was hilarious because Shane kept bringing something up that was completely like, you could tell Rogan didn't want to talk about it. You could clearly tell Rogan had no interest in discussing it, but Shane kept bringing it up throughout the podcast. There were multiple times, and even at one point, Rogan said, "I can't believe you keep talking about this." I actually had to turn it off because when I first started listening to it, I thought it was hilarious. Like, I couldn't believe what he was talking about. He was talking about, do you remember that show when we were kids? I think it was called like True Life. I'm a whatever, like True Life, I'm a binge eater. True Life, I'm a hoarder. True Life, whatever. So
MTV,
it was
right?
MTV. And I remember there was like a True Life, I eat the stuffing in my couch, some stuff like that. That's like a real disease that people have. I forget the name of it.
Pica.
Is that it? Pica?
I know, like ice cubes. Eating non-food objects.
Ice cubes.
Pica is a mental health condition where a person compulsively swallows non-food items. It's especially common in children and with certain conditions. While it's often harmless, swallowing certain items can make pica very hazardous. I thought that ice was an example.
Is that PICA?
Yeah. For people who eat things like ice, a common behavior for someone who is pregnant, pica is harmless. For others, it can lead to dangerous or toxic items. People with pica often eat the following: ash, baby powder, chalk, charcoal, clay, dirt, soil, coffee grounds, eggshells, feces.
Oh my God.
This is sad. Hair, string, or thread, awful. Ice, laundry starch, paint chips, paper, pebbles, pet food, soap, wool, or cloth.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Sorry, I derailed this a little though.
Well, it's crazy that you said feces because the thing that he kept bringing up was like something called the shit hoarder, and he just kept talking about it. And he kept he started off being like, I think something is really funny that every time I bring it up to my friends, none of them think it's funny. And I think and so he kept bringing it up to Rogan, being like, there's this person, hoarders, how like they hoard stuff in their house.
Mm-hmm.
There was an episode, I don't think it was True Life, but it was a TV series similar or something, or a YouTube video where this person hoards her own poop. And and it's not just her, it's her and her mom. They both keep all of their poop.
So the reason Rogan probably didn't want to keep talking about it, and the reason that you turned it off, and probably a lot of people turned it off, is because that's disgusting. And no one wants to think about that. Like, as soon as I could see where you were going, as soon as you said shit hoarder, I was like, I don't want to talk about this. I wouldn't want to listen to this. This makes me physically ill. And so,
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's that.
What parts of the podcast
no talking
made you...
about that. Just want to make that clear. Don't bring it up.
In case you were going to bring this up, please don't.
Yeah.
I do think that. So it's interesting because one of the reasons I love doing this podcast when we're on episode 135 is because it's fun. We make it fun for us. It's a conversation. There isn't a lot of planning or analysis or like, really trying to optimize or analyzing podcasts and seeing how can we talk or what can we talk about or what can we say that's going to increase retention and engagement and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We don't do that, which, we probably could and grow faster or whatever we wanted the outcome to be. But for consistency for the long, I guess it can be fun and more optimal.
I don't know. I think it's fun the way it is.
I prefer fun.
Yeah.
When you're listening to a podcast like that, though, you're analyzing it as a podcast.
Yeah, I'm analyzing it as a podcast, and because obviously it's hard to take away the podcast aspect from it. I try to analyze the conversation, but the public nature of it, the recording nature, automatically sort of changes it a little bit. There's always like a little bit of apprehension or awareness that like of everything that you say is going to be, I mean, obviously you could say, hey, I'm going to cut this out and not share it. But like usually if it's on a podcast, there's still some level of, I need to still be on enough to the point of where I don't say something really stupid. But I like to analyze it from that, like, why am I listening? Why am I interested? Why am I not interested? Type of analysis. I think it's fun to do that. And it also keeps me aware of what could I talk about? What should I not talk about type stuff on social media as well.
Is that just for you, or is that listening to other people on podcasts too? Because I definitely think about that in terms of how genuine is this person being versus how much are they saying this because it's their persona, they're marketing something, they have an angle, they're withholding information that they know for whatever reason. And then it's also interesting to see the spectrum of people in terms of how like real and raw they're willing to go public facing versus people who are just so blatantly playing defense against negative feedback or criticism, whatever it is.
Yeah, I think that spectrum is very, very unique and interesting to look at. I don't really need to analyze it for someone who's just it's very obvious what they're doing. There are some people who all they do is they try and sell whatever it is they're doing, right? The entire podcast or the entire video is just selling. And it's like, it's very clear what they're trying to do. There are other types of videos or podcasts in which it appears much more conversational, but you can also tell the person behind it is like very skilled at saying what they want to say, how they want to say it in a way that almost makes it appear more conversational, but it's still very deliberate in what they're doing. That to me is something I'm interested in.
Who's good at that?
I think Rogan is incredible at that. I think Rogan Rogan's also just he's a great example of a phenomenal listener. Like he's an amazing interviewer. He right now I'm listening to one with an evolutionary psychologist, which is so far very interesting. But for the guy spoke.
Do you know his name?
His name is David Buss.
Yeah. When Men Behave Badly.
Is that his book?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he has a bunch of books. He's a professor, I think, here in Austin. He has a whole book all about murder. I think like the science of murder, why people are murdered, who gets. He mentioned it a little bit in the initial portion of this podcast where he was talking about affairs, how people have affairs, and he even said he's like, a lot of people think it's just men. He's like, they're up to 40% of women in relationships also have affairs. But what he was talking about from the evolutionary psychology part is like, why would a woman have an affair?
There are people who think that only men have affairs.
I think there are people who think it's mainly a male thing, and almost write off the idea that they would. Because also from the psychology perspective or evolutionary perspective, it wouldn't make sense, and that's what a lot of what he's talking about, right? In terms of evolutionarily, the minimum a man has to do in order to have a child is just have sex. Mm-hmm. That's literally it. That's the minimum he has to do. He doesn't have to be a part. He doesn't have to support the woman, any of that stuff. So, and in terms of spreading your genetics and all of that, it's much easier for a man. Whereas a woman, the minimum is pregnancy, which is
a lot.
Mm-hmm. It's like a whole year. And it's taxing on your body, mentally, physically, emotionally, all of that. So he's talking about like why would that happen? There are other things going on in regard to like the psychology of why that might happen, which I just find very interesting. into all of this, like the science of why that might happen. But they go into interesting topics around Darwin and survival of the fittest, and how that's one theory, but it's not like the only one. And there are many other things to consider as well. Almost like, for example, apparently he's talking about how in Darwin's book, Darwin will frequently talk about how a peacock will just, it drives him insane, because why would having this huge, lush, colorful thing help you survive? Because all it's really doing, it acts as like a neon sign for fast food, being like, hey, I'm here, come and eat me, right? When it's the other aspect of this is, it's not survival of the fittest, it's can you reproduce, right? Who can reproduce more quickly and more often, and who's more likely to reproduce, which is the people who are more likely to attract the opposite sex. And so the peacock has the more attractive one to the female peacocks is the one with the most lush plume of feathers. And like, why is that? Why would that attract the females? Why? And this isn't just in peacocks, it's also in turkeys and other birds as well. And so he's talking about the theories about why that is. And he's like, well, there are many different theories, but one of them is generally if a peacock has a lot of parasites, then the color of their feathers will diminish. It will be less vibrant. So if you have more vibrant colors, it means you're more healthy, and like you might have stronger genetics, and that could lead to that greater attraction. But I don't even know how I got on this, but it was very interesting to listen to the conversation. And yeah, so listening, Rogan's just such a good listener.
Yeah, those are a massive skill of the best interviewers, is they know when to not say anything. Yeah. And some of the most annoying interviews are those where the interviewer feels the need to interject themselves consistently rather than letting someone who's brilliant and incredible just rip and like go.
Yeah.
Dude, do you know about the Nutty Putty Cave?
What? No, I've never heard of it.
Are you claustrophobic at all?
Not when I was a kid. I've definitely started to feel it more now, though, for sure. Why?
So the Nutty Putty Cave is a cave in Utah. I've watched this YouTube video before, and it popped up for me again this morning. Unbelievably sad story. Basically, there were so many people who would get trapped in this cave. Jeez. It was supposed to be a beginner's cave. People would get trapped, and like there were rescue missions to get people out in like the 1999 to 2007 window. And so eventually they shut the cave down. I want to say from like 05 to 09. But these cavers and spelunkers were protesting to open it back up, and they're saying like, you're depriving us from this activity we really enjoy. So the state opens the cave back up, and this unbelievably sad story. This guy died in there. He was a 26-year-old guy who was married. I think his wife was pregnant at the time. Him and his younger brother, who was 23, and another 7 or 8 family members, friends, people were there doing the cave. And basically he got to this position where there's something deep in the cave called the birth canal, where it's a very, very narrow space that you have to go through. And then you come out on the other side, and it's like almost straight down, but you come out on the other side and there's a little bit bigger room, so you can turn around and like hang out in the room, but then go back up through this space. Well, this guy thought he was going through the birth canal. If you can see if you're not watching, the guy took a wrong turn. So instead of going here, he went here. And instead of this going left, open room, right. Yep. And on this side, it looked like there was also a really narrow space. And he went through the narrow space thinking it was going to get to the birth canal and he could turn around. But after the narrow space, it drops straight down. And then there's nothing else here. Like it's just, so he's stuck completely vertical in a space that's 10 inches by like 10 feet or 12 feet or something like that. So he like had to let all the air out of his long story short, this guy they sent in, his brother went out, called the police came, they sent rescue missions. Guy was stuck upside down there in that tiny, tiny space for 28 hours.
Stop.
And passed away. They couldn't get him out.
Jeez.
Yeah.
He just passed away from hanging upside down?
Yeah, he was upside down. Well, and he couldn't take a full breath because to get into that narrow area, he had to let all the air out of his body to wiggle through, thinking he was going to come out into an area where there was more space, and he never did. So he couldn't even get a full breath in there. And yeah, he was upside down, all the blood rushing to his head, to his lungs.
That sounds like one of the worst ways to die ever imaginable.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Why did you tell me that story? What is that about?
I don't know.
I'd rather talk about the poop order than that. That was terrible.
Sorry.
Where did that come? Why did you think of that?
I told you the YouTube video got served up to me this morning.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Don't go caving.
I don't even know what to say about that. Just sounds absolutely awful.
Mm-hmm.
So what? So people, they clearly don't have these things marked. Like, hey, turn right here, or they know what they're supposed to do at certain times. Or how are they supposed to know where to go in there?
I think the punchline is you don't go in there unless you really know what you're doing.
Jesus. I could never, dude. When I was a kid, I wasn't claustrophobic at all. Now my daughter, she'll climb under everything, and she'll climb under the bed, and I'll chase her, and it's fun. Even now, just getting under the bed, which I can see outside from all the sides and everything, and it's really not that low to the ground. Even there, when I'm under the bed, I'm I don't like this. This does not feel comfortable. I'm get me out of here. And it's just a bed. And it's there's plenty of space to move and to breathe. I could not imagine going underground in a cave and being okay, in order to get to this next part, I need to exhale a significant portion of the oxygen in my lungs.
Mm-hmm. And wiggle
and
through.
Squeeze myself through.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I hope everything is okay with his wife and child. That's devastating.
Yeah. I would expect you to be less claustrophobic than average given your jiu-jitsu. What?
Maybe. Who knows? Maybe on average,
am I Shane Gillis continuing to bring up the subject that people don't want to hear about?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think it might be more. It might be more situation specific.
Yeah.
I'm very not claustrophobic relatively to other people when I have someone choking me out. I feel very comfortable in that position usually. But you tell me to go down a cave, dude. I saw a video of this. There was an infant or a small kid who got stuck in a pipe somehow. He was walking. He got stuck in a pipe. This has a good ending.
Oh,
so
I saw this. This is awesome.
An older little kid was tied from his ankles,
really skinny kid. Did you see the pep talk that his dad gave him before he went in?
No.
Oh my gosh, we got to link this in the show notes. We got to find this and link it up. It's amazing.
What did he say?
You can't actually hear,
I need to see this video.
But the dad.
Oh, you didn't even hear the.
You don't have to. You don't have to. He grabs the kid's face and he's right in front of him and talking to him, and you can hear the kid listening. I think that the older brother who went in, I think it was his brother, but who went in to save him was, I don't know, 12 maybe, 11, something like that.
But small, skinny 12-year-old.
But very skinny, so he could fit, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then they lowered him in head first, pulled him out. And the caption I saw was this kid went in a boy, came out a man, and just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good ending. Yeah, a real hero. That's a real hero.
Hey, Mike, you want to learn how to make podcasts that people want to listen to? Good endings, not sad endings. Good endings. All right? Here, start listening to these. Analyze what they're doing well, like I do. I was hinting at it before.
No, it was funny. I turned that podcast off when Shane kept bringing that topic up. So I thought I probably shouldn't have brought it up. But yeah, geez, that's nuts. That's nuts. Are you claustrophobic?
I definitely wouldn't want to be in that cave. That's for sure. I was more claustrophobic when I was younger. Like,
Oh, you were more claustrophobic then.
I was more, yeah. At an out-of-town hockey tournament once, we had 17 guys in an elevator, and Baylor Dieter decided to open the doors between floors, and it stuck. Like, there was just brick, and we were all completely in there like sardines. And then the elevator stopped moving for, I don't know, 20 minutes. And
oh, no.
Yeah, and people were getting all rowdy. And so there was that as a kid. There were 100 people in a happy hopper, those big blow up bounce things. You don't know what a happy hopper is?
Oh, you mean like a bouncy castle?
Yeah, sure, bouncy castle. Yeah. That's a more accurate description. That's a more descriptive title. Well, we flipped one of those like on its side with 100 kids in it, and it like collapsed on itself, and some of the air came out. Yeah. So in like a 3-year window, I had multiple like, I can't breathe, I'm going to die.
How'd you flip it on its side?
I put 100 kids in there in the 6th grade, and everyone's going completely crazy, and people are like running into the side of it, and who knows?
Was this at school?
No, this was at a party.
Jeez, that's a crazy party of 100 kids in a happy hopper.
Yeah. So I got less claustrophobic with age.
When you said happy hopper, it made me think of the bouncy thing that my daughter uses. Like, we put her in there and she bounces up and down and she'll watch TV. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
The things you put little kids in, little babies in.
That should be called a happy hopper.
That should be called a happy hopper. That's why I was like, why is he, what did he try and put his head inside one of the leg holes? And then he got stuck.
That's another scary one. Have you ever seen someone try to dive headfirst through an inter tube, like at a lake or a pool?
Yeah.
I've seen people get stuck going through there with their legs straight up in the air.
No. Really?
Yeah. And then like thrashing and unable to get back, and then you're like heads underwater. That's terrifying.
Oh, that's fucking, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, why wouldn't they test it out first, see if they could fit through? That just sounds like terrible planning.
As one of the more impulsive personalities I know, can you tell me why they might not have tested it out first? Like, they definitely were on the diving board like, oh, this will be cool, and I'll impress my friends and watch this. Why didn't they test it out?
Have you seen that in person?
Yeah.
And is that one of your career saves? Did you save someone like that?
No, there weren't inner tubes at the pool, but I don't remember exactly when, but I've seen that once or twice. Absolutely.
Dude, that's scary. I could not imagine that. I remember as a kid, I did Taekwondo as a kid, and I was at my professor's house. His name was Master Starling. Master Starling. He had an academy in Framingham, Massachusetts. Went there. I trained a lot. I love Taekwondo. He had an annual pool party. Went to his pool party, and I would do the things where you're underwater. You want to see how long you can hold your breath. And there was the kid. In every situation, there's the kid that no one likes. Every situation. There's always, and if it's not the kid, then it's the person. And if you don't know who the person is that no one likes, then you're that person, right? So the kid that no one liked was on like one of these like
hang on. We gotta pause the story. I'm sorry.
Hold on.
I'm the obnoxious interviewer who's pausing it. What if there's 2 people hanging out? Like what?
Well, that doesn't count.
What if there's 3?
I mean a group.
What's the minimum number?
4.
I don't think there's always someone that no one likes. But continue.
Maybe 4 is a small number. We'll go back to that in a second. We'll revisit that. All right. I will stand by that. Anyway, there's like, like those the pads that you'll lie on the pool.
Mm-hmm.
The kid like floated directly over me as I was near the end of my breath hold.
Okay.
And I was trying to get up, and I couldn't get up, and I was freaking out underwater. And I forget his name. I was like, "What the fuck, man?" And he was like, "What?" I was like, "You floated directly over me." And anyway, yeah, maybe the minimum in a group.
Hang on. No. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. Have you seen where they drill a hole in ice on a lake, and then they drill another
and
hole
they fish?
like a nope.
Oh, and they swim in it?
And they drill another hole like 100 feet away or 50 feet away or whatever it is, and then they go underwater and swim to the other hole. Have you seen them do that?
I have. That is so stupid. It's truly unbelievable. I get people have had to have died that way.
Have you seen when there is no snow and the ice is, I mean, you can see straight through the ice. You can see the person swimming, and then they get lost and they don't know where the hole is? I
saw it happen to, on social media, probably like a year, 2 years ago. I saw it happen to a woman. A woman went in, she got lost. And you
can continue on your number of people theory here.
You always have these sad stories that,
I know.
Like,
I literally was just going to say, what is this podcast? Like, what are we even talking about?
Let me ask you that. So actually, I can't ask you that. I'm not going to ask you that. That's unfair. Okay, yeah, never mind. I would say in any group.
You're in your golf trip. Who don't you? But that's 16 people. I know exactly where you were going with it.
I wasn't going to ask who. I was going to say, is there someone that you maybe don't like as much? Or like,
but that's different than someone you don't like. And also 16 and 4 are very different.
Yes. Well, of course. I think I had the number might have been too low. Maybe the minimum is like between 8 to 12 minimum. Somewhere in that range.
Or just maybe there's often someone in a group who is quite annoying. That could be.
Yeah.
And that was the kid. And he went right over you on purpose to try and drown you.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Question of the day. Jordan, if you had to select one of the following in a fight to the death, who would it be? A 16-foot crocodile, a 200-pound chimpanzee, a 9-foot-tall grizzly bear. Those are your options.
And is this me versus that animal?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Or an 80-foot anaconda.
Crocodile. I would take the crocodile. Do you want to give me your answer before? Who would you pick?
None. I don't want to fight any of those things.
That's not an option, Michael. Which one would you pick?
I suppose I'd pick the grizzly just because with grizzlies you can play dead. I read on the internet. And like there's a very small chance that they just beat the crap out of you, but you don't die.
But it's a fight to the death, so you've got to engage.
Oh, you have to kill it. That's right. How are you going to kill the croc?
Well, here's the thing. I would find higher ground, ideally some type of a tree or some type of a building that I could climb up on, right? And then from there, at the very least, I could try and either jump on it and really hurt it. Also, if you get around its back, if you get on top of it, jumping from above, you have a better angle to choke it out, be on top, whatever, poke it in its eyes. Or if there are things up wherever I am, I could throw it at them. But definitely jumping down and landing on it as hard as you could wouldn't feel good. But I think that's the best chance of survival. A 200-pound chimpanzee? Fuck no. Absolutely not. That thing is going to rip your fucking face off.
Yeah, that's true.
Grizzly bear? No way. You're done. Anaconda? Good luck. No. Like all of them. And the crocodile, same thing. But I think the crocodile's biggest weakness is that it can't follow you anywhere. The anaconda, it can't follow you up. It can run pretty fast. You got to zigzag. Zigzag, find higher.
You gotta zigzag. Jordan just giving us this piece of information we were all taught as children that, like, if you're ever getting chased by a crocodile or an alligator, you zigzag. You said it like you gotta zigzag.
Yeah.
Well,
you zigzag.
If you have a tree and like all these rocks stored up there that you're gonna throw down, then I would then I would take
No,
the
no, I'm not
grizzly
saying
and I
it's
would use
stored.
my gun to.
Well, that's stupid. I'm not saying that I have them stored up. I'm saying, like, if there's a tree, you could break a branch off. You have to, whatever nature gives you. You don't just have a gun up there. But like, even with the tree branch, like you could try and poke it in the eye, whatever. You could smack it. You do that to a grizzly, good luck. Like the grizzly doesn't even feel that.
Would you rather fight? Hang on, I'm going to add one more to the mix and tell me if this changes your answer. So those 4 or Gordon Ryan?
With all of the same, like I don't have any extra, it's just nature, right? I'm just out in nature.
Yes.
So for everyone who doesn't know, Gordon Ryan is the world's greatest jiu-jitsu grappler, no-gi grappler of all time. Like one of the greatest fighters ever. I would still go with the alligator.
Yeah. You don't think that you could, because against Gordon, it wouldn't just be jiu-jitsu. Like you could catch him with a flying knee or you could catch him with like a hook or something.
No, I couldn't. I couldn't. I know for a fact.
It's a great way to end the podcast. Thank you for laughing with us. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Next week, we'll be back with regular scheduled programming, more fitness, more business, more good things coming your way, and probably still some laughs because that's what we do here. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. 5 stars would be ideal. Help us grow the podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Have a good one.